Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. We got us another beautiful Friday. Looks like we're going to get a little rain today, but then the sun's going to come out for most of the weekend. I think we're going to have a pretty nice weekend. They actually are talking about in the extended forecast that we could see a little snow next Wednesday. So here we are with springtime in Idaho again, but what a beautiful day we have today. I want to start by reminding everybody that we are in the month of April, and this month of April has been designated as Child Abuse Prevention and Education Month. I want to make sure each of us do what we can to get involved in this process to make sure and protect the smallest and probably most helpless group that we have around us, and that we'll be aware of the things that we can do to make sure that our children are safe. There's some things, again, I mentioned them last week, but I'm going to mention it again because they're happening this coming week on the ISU campus. Monday at 2:30, there will be a rally and a proclamation, and that will happen at Reed Gym on ISU campus at 2:30, and I would just encourage people to come and participate with that. Tuesday, there's going to be a banner signing, and I think that banner will actually be someplace on campus most of the week where you can sign it in support of this effort. On Wednesday, they're going to show a film at the Bengal Theater called Resilience, and there will be free food at that event. And then on Friday, there's the free community training. And if you want to know more about that, make sure you get involved. Shannon Fox is the one that is kind of coordinating these efforts. And so if you want to give her a call, she can tell you more about what's going on. But I would just encourage you to get involved and make sure that you do some things during this month to be proactive with this particular thing in our community. I think most of you are aware that we did what we called the Looking Glass Academy during this last week. What an eye-opener that was to me. On Tuesday and Wednesday, we had the opportunity to go out and walk our community. We had the opportunity to do some of that in a wheelchair. I also had the opportunity to put on some goggles that limited my vision substantially and got to use see what it was like to walk in our community when your vision is challenged. And I'll tell you what, it gives you a whole new perspective when you see the challenges that are around for those who are handicapped. But you know what? We have challenges around for each one of us. And it was good for us to be able to get out and see what those things are, because we truly do. We talk a lot about wanting to become a friendly, walkable, bikeable community. And I'll tell you what, it's not something that's going to happen easy. One of the things that I will say that I learned probably in a huge way is for too long we've allowed the traveling public, the automobile, to have kind of the say in what's going on in community development. And I'm not too sure that we kind of make a mistake there. I get it that we need to also be accessible for our vehicles and to get around that way. But I think sometimes we give that total precedence. And boy, we sure need to be aware, those of us who are in vehicles, of those who are on foot, and be respectful of them, recognize that pedestrians have rights, and we need to give them at least the same consideration in how we go forward developing our community. But there were some things that were pointed out to us and that we were able to see quite easily and that we lack in this community for those who walk our community, and especially those who particularly have a handicap. And so we're going to be actively involved in that, and I would again encourage each of us to be active. Look around your little neck of the woods, and particularly your properties, and see what things you can do. Make sure that there aren't things that are causing difficulty for people walking in front of your properties. Growth is coming to our community. What kind of growth? We don't know yet. We have the potential for some great growth, and we believe that if it's done right, it's going to be a blessing to all of us. But one of the things that I wanted to say about this is I've had the challenge of working with the growth that's coming is that we all are going to have just a little bit of patience with this. I think all of you know that the interchange is getting finished now, and it won't be long now. Probably by October we're going to have a functioning interchange. Well, you'll notice that as you come down Siphon Road, that as you hit Whitaker, it's going to go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. That's going to be the case for a little while. We don't know exactly how long. We're trying to coordinate that with the Idaho Transportation Department so that the Siphon-Yellowstone interchange will become what it needs to be. And we believe that the tightening of the road to 2 lanes at Whitaker is probably the right way to leave it until we can get the coordination happening so that the extended lanes from City Hall to Siphon and also from Whitaker to Yellowstone will probably go in about the same time, and eventually that particular corner will become lighted. But I want you to know that during the interim, it's going to call for some patience from us, and growth is going to bring some other challenges that will call for patience. And I think that if we'll work through this, the day's coming, not that far off, that we're going to see some real benefit as a community for the things that are coming in. But with growth comes those kinds of things. There's a reason they talk about growing pains, and they really are there. But I think if we have some patience and work with one another, we can make this work very well. I also want to address fiber into our community, particularly into our residences. That's coming to our town. We had some challenge with that during the last week because as some of the fiber was being installed, they got a little ahead of themselves, and so some of you had people on your properties working the utility right-of-way, but you weren't aware people were going to be there. Now, we've talked to the folks that are doing this and told them that it's imperative that even though that is a utility easement, it's vital that they have communication with the property owners so that you know that they're coming. But we're so grateful that they're bringing that fiber into our community and making it available to our residents. Again, we're going to have a little patience there. It's going to take some time to get that complete. But if you have questions or concerns or comments, I would encourage you to call Direct Communications. They are the one that are bringing that into our community right now. They're working with others to do the installation, but Direct Communications would be the one that you would want to call to talk to about any concerns or to ask any questions that you might have. The legislative season in the state of Idaho is winding down. I want to make sure that each person understands how important it is in our form of government that we get involved. Make sure you know who your representatives are and talk to them. You know, as I've watched it this year, we've seen things happen that I've agreed with. We've seen things happen that I was a little bit ambivalent towards, didn't particularly care one way or the other, and that might not be a good attitude, but that truly happens. But there have been other things that I kind of disagreed with. And I've had the opportunity throughout this legislative season to talk to those who represent us. It's imperative that we each get involved that way. We elect them to represent us, but I'm not sure that they can do that fully if we just totally ignore them during the legislative process. And so get involved. It's winding down. My guess is within the next few days they'll be adjourning and coming home. I appreciate the work that they do. It's a hard work. I think it's imperative that as we get involved in this, that we not become bitter or angry, but that we make sure and voice our opinions, and that we make sure people understand, particularly those who've been elected to represent us, understand what our views are and what we'd like to see happen. I want to conclude by giving a kudos to our local law enforcement officers. You probably have seen the news and seen that somebody robbed the Smith's Pharmacy yesterday, and within hours, because of the communication, the cooperation we have with our local law enforcement, this person was apprehended. And I'm just so grateful that we have that kind of cooperation, and our law enforcement community deserve a great big thank you for the way they've handled that. They have a lot of things that are happening that bring some real challenge into our community, and I'm grateful for the quality of men and women that we have serving us in this regard. Again, just thank you to them and their efforts and what they do. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.